Dane Schneider.
I brought the book on the stage, but first I'm going to be reading from the book we're working on now, but just some of the paintings. I'll kind of just do a little page through it. Yeah, she did a painting for every single poem, full color abstract art. So, yeah. But then these are from the next book, which is going to be called I Tried to Live in the Present, but it was wrapped a bit too tight. This first poem is called The Poets Can Finally Take Rain. To be as free as the verse they disperse, the poets must first find internal rhyme in rhythm with time. Holding hope each line break won't have the chance to overtake any strides they may make toward remaining awake in a world asleep where most talk is cheap and the knowledge they obtain falls from trees that only wane towards someone else's gain. But if they find a way to capture the pain of hope's rapture with pens impervious to flame, the poets can finally take rain. Then the next one's called If We Trade in Our Wings. The future and the past formed a pact to subtract the barrier around my signal's carrier. So I've redacted my hopes and retracted the scope of my ambition, assuming the position and surrendering the rendering of my dreams to forces unseen, because I never remember them anyway. And now the audience are the ones on display, with the tape stuck on play, when all we need is a pause to dim the sign flashing applause, and to cut the strings that make us dance and sing for barons and kings, offering us a shot at the stars if we trade in our wings. This is called The Firing Squad. Why do we gather to applaud our own firing squad if they arrive on the heels of a parade? Fusing our flesh to the facade, we inherit both their fraud and any consequence they manage to evade. Why do we elevate our worst to devour the weakest first, even offering to lick the plates clean? As we join to rehearse their curse, knowing it can never be reversed once the hearse has left the scene. This is Unfinished Bridges. Our lives are unfinished bridges, often lacking columns or ridges, so that sometimes we alone must support any necessary structural support. And many will rush what they've constructed, claiming to know what lies on the other side, while others have horizons constantly obstructed until they desperately decide to converse with the tide. Either we're preoccupied with the unknown or fixated on what's faded, forgetting to take the time to marvel at architecture we've created. This is a democracy in action. The gators escaped the moat while the legislature gathered to vote. And though they weren't actually being chased, for the creatures had far better taste, they hunkered down and lifted the drawbridge, draining every well and raiding every fridge, until they had to call an emergency session as their appetites were facing suppression. And so they voted unanimously to indulge in the hidden fantasy of devouring their staff and pages, swallowing them in order of their wages, until they eventually splintered into warring factions, perfectly illustrating democracy in action. This one's called Maybe Tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow there'll be blinds in the roads, and I won't have to swerve between various episodes. Maybe tomorrow this room will have doors, and I'll finally be discharged from inside its pores. Maybe tomorrow I won't speak of surrender, labeling every gift with return to sender. Maybe tomorrow I'll own the whole venue, instead of appearing at the bottom of my menu. But tonight every light in my head is stuck on red. And then this is The Planets. Pluto mistook a window for a door when the universe said he wasn't a planet anymore. Neptune became so bitter and squalid, dissipating once she realized she would never be solid. Uranus can no longer take being the butt of every joke. In fact, the last line was likely the one that made him croak. Saturn fell for Jupiter, even offering her a ring. But the gesture threw off their rotation before celestial choirs could sing. Mars and Venus formed an alliance, joining together to surround the Earth, who was surprisingly eager to surrender all life to sit front row at the rebirth, which Mercury had almost managed to evade while traveling in retrograde. But the sun was getting a bit too tired, and she decided to pull the shade. And this is Old Glory's gory story. We're drowning under the waves of the flags as the stripes bolt the doors and stars line up body bags. But Old Glory's gory story was always supposed to be filed somewhere between horror and tragedy. Running away from one home only to break another, you're a killer and a thief masquerading as a lover. But we see beyond your stoked fires and tapped wires, your dog whistles and cocked pistols, your killer cops and mutated crops, your assembly lines of lies and smog-covered skies, your endless munitions and extraordinary renditions, and whatever else you keep tucked within, wrapped up and sealed with that shit-eating grin. And this is called And Still You Aren't Jaded. The glass is empty, the plates have shattered, the clock is stuck, the meaning is scattered, the light is dim, the signal's distorted, the water receded, the mission was thwarted, the temperature dropped, the prices rose, the printer jammed, the door remains closed, the meter expired, the well went dry, the planes are grounded, the flags won't fly, the window is cracked, the sun is hidden, the lie caught fire, the system was overridden, the wheel is wobbly, the map is faded, the bridge is blockaded, and still you are jaded. This is called This Watch Will Turn to a Warning. I fear that come the morning, this watch will turn to a warning, and everything that was once tethered will momentarily become severed, as a storm without a siren, or alert scrolling below the chyron, will redefine my relationship with gravity, or seal me up just like a cavity. Beneath the rubble of routines and dreams, where pockets of air aren't stitched into the seams, so far down, the only thing that still gleams is the blade. This is the last one from the new book, and I'll read a few from the other one, but the older book. But this is called Establish Your Own Tune. When it seems impossible to sing or to even hum along, and you're putting in all the quarters, but life's choosing every song. Instead of searching for the exit, find your way to the front of the room and unplug the cord from their outlet so you can establish your own tune. And for the book, the first one I'm starting with is the recipe, and here's Carrie's painting from that one. That one's actually hanging on my wall, the full-size painting. One of my favorite ones she did for the book there. The pendulum swings far too close to those standing on the edge of time's coast, and the mountains will always begin to shift, just as you start to peer over love's cliff. Sometimes you'll even make the mistake of setting your incubator to incinerate. But when you finally get the recipe right, the scent will guide you through the darkest of nights to do things you didn't think you were capable of, to reflect, to reshape, to grow, and to love. And this next one's called Something Resembling Personality, and then here's Carrie's painting from that one. Capitalism ripped me from the roots like a weed. Democracy watered my hopes but washed away the seeds. Religion held me under until I can no longer breathe. Love taught me to immolate what should be set free. Yet somewhere beyond the cacophony of me, I found something resembling personality. This one's called A Self That Already Shines. And there's the painting for that one. When it seems I've absorbed all I can take, and as a result I've gone opaque, light no longer travels through me or reflects off my face. Know that I can still start a fire, bright enough for the choir that rehearses beyond my bones, keeping my circuits from getting blown. And the light and sound somehow peek around the corners of my mind, pouring into the well where I hope to one day find a self that already shines. And this next one's called Stillness and Birdsong. If I woke up beside you, I would notice the birds. Drowned out by traffic, both mental and municipal, I rarely notice the birds. If I woke up beside you, time would notice us, and we would notice time. She may even forget to pass as we lay there enveloped in stillness and birdsong. But tomorrow, I will wake up alone. I'll keep the blinds closed, and I may even curse at the birds. This one is called Into the Cracks. Here's the. And I just realized the intro of the painting for the last one, which is one of my favorites in there, so I'll show that. Yeah, that's the Stillness and Birdsong painting. But yeah, Into the Cracks at the one after that. I took the parts of myself that couldn't be comfortably worn, and I locked them outside during the wildest of storms. But despite my defiance, wind won't make them scatter. The rain joined them in alliance, and in the gutter they would regather, only to return unexpectedly, soaking into the cracks of my foundation, until I found that my life's rotation had been disrupted by the deflation, and I veered off course, swerving away from my identity, when it was revealed that I was the one carving obscenities in my serenity, heading toward a destination that had been rendered unclear by a fog appearing everywhere except for the mirror. And then this is the final one I'll be reading tonight. It's called The Song of Surrender. While the song of surrender sounds so sweet, to sing it would lift you straight up off your feet, and the music won't end until after your final breath, because the song of surrender only plays in the key of death. Sometimes I hear it faintly, like it's tuning instruments to me, but I somehow decline the offer to duet, knowing I can still find my own symphony